just kind of shotgun these as well as you can. Give me 3 of your favorite strength and conditioning movements that you think can help anyone and everyone move better, feel better. And, they can just be, full body, whatever. Top 3.
Well, what's interesting about that is I think if you ask me holistically, that question, then I say, well, what you're really asking is what do I think is not important, right? Because, I think, deadlifting is a rite of passage, is a skill. I'm 47 years old now, and some of the speed has come out of my movements, right? I'm going to have a knee replacement next month because I put my femur through my tibia, and I have a terrible, terrible 2 bone lesions, right? But, man, I can deadlift, and I can pull heavy, and I can pull fast, and that doesn't irritate it. So if I'm going to say what is a movement practice, I'm going to say, well, squatting is great, hinging is great, swinging is great, but you need to extend your hip. And that means not stand up from a squat. That means take your hip into extension and something that looks like running. But all of a sudden I have a trap bar deadlift. So maybe that open-sided, kabuki bar is still deadlifting, but I've just changed the orientation of my position, right? So I'm exposing my body to all the things it needs to do. I believe in overhead pressing. I just feel like if you see what Matt Vincent can do all the time because he spent so much time overhead, maintains his thoracic positioning, he doesn't have the kind of problems we see a lot with shoulders with athletes who are afraid to go overhead or been told not to go overhead or value overhead. But also I do think that there's some piece in there around just being bulletproof and bomb-proof and pushing a prowler and dragging a sled. Those things just can meet the needs of making sure your feet are strong and tendons are strong. But honestly, if you are engaged in the classics of strength and conditioning, bench, press, deadlift, split your stance a little bit sometimes, push, pull, from some different positions, you've got a movement practice. The thing is that we got wrong is that we started to fetishize the gym for everything. And it got a little confusing because powerlifting is an actual sport where a lot of people don't actually do the sport. They practice the sport, but they don't actually do the sport, right? And every sport has a compromise. Olympic lifting is a sport, and so we were like, I'll just spend more time Olympic lifting in the gym. It has a compromise, right? Running is a sport, and if you just run, you're going to end up looking like a runner, which isn't pretty necessarily. So what you'll see is that probably the track and field model of throwing things, running, bounding, skipping, Olympic lifting, powerlifting creates a better durability so that you could get out of the gym and actually spend some credits. And look, if the gym is your jam, I'm down. I love the gym. You know how much I love training. Like, I am always down to train. I'll be the weakest man on the women's platform every single time, which is usually the case. But I'm always down to train in the gym. But I think we lost our minds a little bit around trying to make the gym everything. Let's train every position, every movement. And I'm like, dude, you just need to go throw the Frisbee for 10 minutes or, go run some sand stairs. You don't need to do all this crap in the gym. Let's get out of the gym. So what I want people to start to appreciate is what's essential. And that may change as you age. That may change based on what you're doing, and it's confusing because, strength and conditioning, classic strength and conditioning, it is possible to be strong enough to do your sport, believe it or not. And if you're an Olympic lifter or power lifter, you're like, strength is never a weakness, Mark, right? And what you see is that, I just need to get stronger and stronger and stronger until Mark can't put his shoes on anymore. And I'm like, well, maybe that's a side effect of being an elite lifter. But if I'm talking about lifting when I'm 60 and 70, that's less effective. So I want us to just go outside a little bit. Even if it's just putting on a heavy pack and going hiking, that's enough.
I love that. I love helping other people start to get back the ability to go and express themselves athletically. And I think that's what you're talking about. And I think it's utmost importance for you to be able to, for everyone to be able to go out there and do that. So you talked about a lot of stuff that you like. This is going to be the real money shot here. Give me 3 completely dog shit overrated movements or rehab exercises or movement screens or something. Give us 3 things that Kelly Starrett hates about movement and kind of the strength and conditioning and or rehab piece of all this puzzle.
there's a lot of silliness out there, and let's just say that it may be appropriate at a certain time for a certain person. Like, I do not believe in hip thrusts. I just don't do them. I think it puts a lot of, like, big, strong athletes. I think everything works if you're a deconditioned person. You know, like, I don't remember who was talking about it, but you could put someone, it was a powerlifter talking about another powerlifter. He's like, that guy could ride a bike and he'd get stronger. His quads would grow. You know, like, you're not supposed to get stronger riding a bike. That's really weird. So we pull that out all of a sudden, you know, I think we've lost our minds around things like high rep Olympic lifting. You know, like, what it does is it creates sometimes poor patterns for high weight Olympic lifting, right? So suddenly you can get away with murder at low speed, at low loads, high speeds. It doesn't matter because you're super strong and you can just, but all of a sudden you're like, well, I've practiced that position forever and ever and ever. And all of a sudden we see that your snatch falls apart, or your bench falls apart, or your squat falls apart. And so if you go back into the tenets, we lift heavy weights like they're light, and we weight light weights like they're heavy, and we try to do the same setup, and we try to reduce variability, right? And I would say that some of the high cycle barbell stuff is an artifact of the CrossFit sport, and you're much better served grabbing kettlebells or fat bells. You know what I mean? Just if you want to do that stuff, grab the implement that's better for it. Like, here's an example. People like to take their inflatable stand-up paddle boards on the river. And I'm like, it's just dumb. It's the wrong craft for the wrong use. And of course you can do it. And if you're trapped in a bathroom with one barbell, you're going to do some high rep Olympic lifting. I get it. I mean, that's the only tool you have. So I don't do hip thrusts. They don't get what I want out of them. I'm not a huge fan. I'd rather, you know, pull singles. You know, if you want to do 100 singles, we'll do 100 singles. That's fine. But like high rep tap and go deadlift, man, what it ends up doing is it makes you a really crappy deadlifter, right? Those skills don't transfer. So, you know, some of that stuff just drives me crazy, you know, and I think when I see people working out with, you know, pink dumbbells, you know, as an analogy for, hey, you're not under any significant load, and meaning you're just making yourself tired, and you wonder why your body doesn't change, or wonder why you're not getting stronger, you wonder why your tendons and ligaments hurt all the time, you know, because you've negated decades and decades, a century of body knowledge about how to get strong. You know, and let's be clear, people have been doing this for a long time. I just saw, I don't know if it was Garage Strength Gym or you know, talking about stone lifting like 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. I mean, people have been obsessed with being strong, but somehow we lost the narrative because people have worked this out for us already, right? You need to rest. You need to unload. You need to recover. You need to decongest. You know, so it's easy to make the mistakes because, you know, you go down the rabbit hole, but, you know, it's all fair game until it's not.
Oh, yeah.